everyone, and welcome to the first episode of What the F*** Did I Just Watch? A weekly podcast where two best friends are at the mercy of one another's taste in movies. I'm your host, Cristina, and with me is my bestie and co-host, Brian. Say hello.
Hello.
We are so excited for today's first episode. Essentially, Pants will break down... Oh, maybe I should...
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so we do have nicknames for each other. We have known each other for over a decade. When did we meet?
15 years?
15? Yeah.
16?
Yeah.
Far too long.
Our relationship is pretty long.
Past the expiry date.
I will not try and explain to you why his nickname is Pants, because my story changes every time. But
that's true. Yeah.
That's what I call him.
And she goes by Tina because it's short for Cristina.
I hate it, but he has permission.
Well, that's how I met you. You didn't meet me as Pants.
I mean, you're right.
Yeah, always.
Pants, do you want to explain to the audience what we're doing?
Yeah. So we have pretty different movie tastes. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some crossover-ish.
Yeah. No, definitely.
I tend to, I guess, watch movies a different way than you do. Do you want to say that?
Yes.
I wanted to be a screenwriter growing up, so I did a lot of research in how movies were made, what goes into writing them, how to write a good one, though I never succeeded in that. Hence the podcast in the closet. So I do tend to look at more details in movies and not just watch service level stuff like that. But on the same note, I like shitty movies. I like horror movies, bad ones and good ones. I like dumb comedies. I don't know. What's a movie that I like that you cannot stand or refuse to watch?
Oh my God, there are so many. I think that, just to break that down a little bit, like, I can really appreciate a movie. However, I do not like horror, gore, suspense, things like that. It just doesn't sit well with me. And a lot of the times the movies that he has me watch are all of those things. And then in addition to that, it's very stupid. So, okay, let me back up because that's not entirely true.
No, it's not.
If you're asking me what movie that I think that I hate the most, is probably, at least recently, like those stupid Sharknado movies.
That's not recent in the least.
I can't even think of a movie that you've made me
There's
watch
been
recently
4 of
that
them.
I don't like.
Yeah, because they're all good.
Oh my gosh, no, not at all.
Yeah.
But, you know.
What about Wild Wild West?
What? Are you already introducing the movie of the week?
It's in the title.
Oh, yeah, that's
so
true.
They know. Or he or she knows. There's only one, most likely.
I can't think of a silly movie that you've made me watch recently. But it's true. Like, I mean, in all honesty, you have really good movie tastes. I typically just like to stay away from things that are going to give me nightmares because I have a pretty overactive imagination as it is. So I like it all, again, with the exception of like terror.
I think we have more taste or more similar taste in TV shows.
Yes.
Than we do in movies.
Yes.
I'm not sure how that works, but
WandaVision. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. So we both like the MCU movies.
Yes.
A lot.
Yes.
I know a little bit more about them than you.
Absolutely.
So I like explaining things to you. So
yes,
in a non-mansplaining way, though.
Oh, yeah. No. And I need to be very clear on the fact that I enjoy watching movies, but I am not as invested as Pants is. Therefore, I am pretty left out on a lot of things, and he does have to explain quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I can appreciate a movie for what it is. I guess you would just call me a consumer. I'm definitely not a hobbyist or somebody who truly enjoys like really diving deep into it.
I think a cinephile is what they are called.
There's a word for people like me.
No, not like you.
Oh.
Like me.
Oh,
yeah, you're the opposite of a cinephile.
Okay, goddamn it.
What would you say your favorite movie is? If you had to pick one movie to watch for a year straight.
I really like Forrest Gump.
Okay.
I really do. I love quoting it. I love Tom Hanks. Shout out to my mom, who made me a huge fan of Tom Hanks growing up. Like, my mom very much loved him as an actor, and so we saw him in a lot of movies, and Forrest Gump just stuck there. Like, that is something that reminds me of my childhood. And so,
as far as movies go for me, I really, I don't know if this is a nostalgia thing or not, but Cloverfield has always been like my number one movie since it came out. I remember the watching the trailer for the first time. That was when you would mostly see trailers at the movie theater. Mm-hmm. Before a movie theater is a place where people used to go to watch movies. Before the world fell to shit. It's often very sticky.
A listener going, "What the hell is a movie theater?"
I think it was before Transformers. It was just a trailer with it was found footage. It was really chaotic and lots of explosions. There was some havoc in New York, like there always is. And then it just had a date at the end, the release date, which I think January 18th. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. Oh, yeah. I think that's what it said. 08. I want to say it was 08. There was a lot of 8s involved, maybe.
188.
And you didn't really know what the movie was. Everybody thought it was like a Godzilla movie. And then it came out, and I saw it 9 times in theaters.
You saw it 9 times in the theater?
That's when I worked at like Panera Bread or something. And I was dating girls back then.
Oh, yeah.
So, I remember the girl I was dating, I took her to see it also for like the 6th time. And, I didn't care. I was going to watch the movie. And she got motion sickness from the chaotic camera movements, left to like throw up. And she was just like, she called me and she was like, "I'm just going to wait outside." I was like, okay. I feel like I finished the movie. And
I paid $25 to be here.
Right. And this will be the last thing I say about it. It really, it caught me off guard at the time because there was a lot of viral marketing around it, a lot of mystery around it. And then the first time I saw it, I happened to be watching the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. In the bottom right-hand corner, for a half a second, flashes a Dharma Initiative symbol. And I just remember seeing it in theaters and thought I was hallucinating because it was there and it was gone. It was just like a 1 millisecond. And I was like, did anybody see that? And nobody around me watched Lost. Oh, so I was just like, what the fuck am I? Okay, I know it's there. So a few days later, it came out online that, yeah, it was. And I was like, I fucking love this movie. So that's where we stand.
I guess you should also mention that Lost is like
my shit.
Your jam.
Is my religion.
Yeah.
Yes. If the world weren't inundated with Lost podcasts already, I would be doing one. If it was just me sitting alone in my closet talking to nobody. Lost was the first show that really got me interested in writing and like the process of writing a TV show or a movie and everything that goes into it. Damon Lindelof is a fucking genius, and he's gone on to do Watchmen and Leftovers is great. He's definitely like a personal hero of mine. He's awesome, but he's also made shitty movies. Like Cowboys and Aliens. We all have. Which, fun
fact, I haven't seen that movie, so we can absolutely...
We need to roll a C.
One of these days.
Yes. So, do you want to explain what roll a C means?
Oh, yeah. So, we have a 26 face die. Well, we thought it would be a good idea to roll, and the letter that pops up is going to be the first letter in the movie that we select for the week. That just keeps things kind of fun and interesting, and I'm sure down the line, if you guys have any suggestions for us, we'd love to hear it, and maybe you guys will introduce us to something that maybe both of us have never seen. So this week, we rolled a W.
Whatever, as she said, whatever letter it lands on, the movie has to start with that. But the person who rolls, in a perfect world, they will be picking a movie the other person has never seen. And that can just be like a personal way of one of us torturing the other one, which is sure indeed my plan. That's why we're doing this. Or neither of us could have seen. So at least one person cannot have seen the movie is the rule. So I rolled a W, and I chose Wild Wild West because I remember as a kid, age 10, wanting to see it. Low-key thinking Will Smith was super sexy.
Because he is.
This is at the height of his sexy.
Oh, yeah. Well, no. I mean, I still think that he is a very... I mean, him and Jada are just...
Yes.
Shout out to you guys if you're listening. I would love to come hang out with you.
They're not.
Okay.
They're not listening. They're not our one listener.
But Mr. West, we're talking about you.
So I had never seen it. Tina had. All I knew about it is that I loved the song when it came out, which we'll get into.
Like a Wild Wild West.
Okay. We're going to have to pay to use that now.
Is that accurate?
So, we will get into some initial thoughts on Wild Wild West, starting right now. We will be spoiling Wild Wild West, a 22-year-old movie, right from the beginning. So if you haven't seen it and you want to, maybe stop now, but please come back.
Just listen to our thoughts.
I mean, yeah.
On your commute to work. We're just two best friends shooting the shit.
So, as stated, the movie came out in 1999. Stars Will Smith, Kevin Kline, and Selma Hayek. It was directed by Barry Sonnenfeld, who also directed all 3 Men in Black movies. So he does have history with Will Smith. It had a $170 million budget, while it made around $113 million domestically. The Imdb score for Wild Wild West is even 5.0.
What is that scale?
To 10. Yes. And
I will tell you that Rotten Tomatoes, their tomato meter, scored it at 17% out of 100, right? And their audience score was 28%.
Yep. So we watched on HBO Max, or I did at least. That where you saw it?
I think I might have rented it. You're welcome.
You paid for it?
Yeah, I mean, they needed, a little more money.
Oh, maybe. They needed to get to that.
How much money do you think they get in their the checking account whenever somebody rents Wild Wild West? Like, it's like...
How much do you think Will Smith gets?
15 cents was deposited into your account.
Probably. He's just like, here, Willow, get a weave. And whip it.
Stop.
All right, so, initial thoughts. Are you a fan of this movie?
That's such a hard thing to talk about because I have such love for Will Smith and I feel absolutely terrible that he's associated with a movie like this. Shout out also to the rest of the cast.
Quit shouting out celebrities.
This is how I'm gonna get my in, bands. They're gonna hit me up and be like, "Would you like to come over for some tea?" I'll be like, "When did
Are
you
the
become
Smiths British?"
Anyways, no, I mean, when I was younger, I think I really enjoyed the movie because I also didn't understand like what structure was or like plot development or character development or any of these things that General acting. But as a kid, I really loved it. Rewatching it the other day, My thoughts have changed a little bit.
So, as stated, I had never seen it. So this was the first time I was watching it. It was around like 9 at night. Got in bed with a notebook. And this probably had a lot of promise.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the trailers were probably really cool, which I admittedly never went back and watched.
Oh, I did watch it. It looked exciting. Like, the trailer made it look... you could kind of... maybe this is just how my brain works now. But looking at it, I can definitely tell that there's going to be something, like, off about it. Mm-hmm. However, like, they did try and convey, you know, a Wild Wild West theme. No, I mean, the trailer did give it some promise. Like, it got you excited, and then you watch it, and it just... I don't know that it was quite what we expected. Pants, go ahead and break down the movie.
All right. So, plot synopsis from IMDb. The two best special agents in the Wild West must save President Grant from the clutches of a diabolical, wheelchair-bound, steampunk-savvy Confederate scientist bent on revenge for losing the Civil War. Who the fuck pitched this movie?
I was just thinking the same thing. Had that been the trailer, then my thoughts would have been different. The trailer does kind of show it, but unless you've seen the movie, you're not picking up on those things. At least I didn't. Anyways, I do have to read you guys a review from Roger Ebert. Wild Wild West is a comedy dead zone. You stare in disbelief at scenes flop and die. The movie is all concept and no content. The elaborate special effects are like watching money burn on the screen. You know something has gone wrong when a story is about two heroes in the Old West and the last shot is of a mechanical spider riding off into the sunset.
Not wrong.
No.
Not wrong. So the opening scene reminded me of a movie that I can almost guarantee you've never seen.
Okay.
Called Phantasm. And It is a horror movie that my mom is actually a really big fan of, and that's why I watched it. And there's these little spheres, little balls, and they're metal and shiny, and they have little spikes on them that pop out. And they just, like, track people down and kill them. Wow. I don't remember a lot of it. I don't know if... I just know that that's part of it.
That's what it reminded you of.
Yeah, because in the opening scene, it's a guy running through a forest with a saw like collar. Yeah, it looks like it's from Saw. And then he just gets decapitated by this disc. It's magnetic.
It's released and it is attracted to this magnet, right? So the beginning of the movie does open up with him running through the forest, and then the magnet is a jagged saw-like giant disc. And I thought it was pretty funny because I don't remember exactly what he said, and I probably should have written it down, but I just remember he goes, "I must warn the president." He's like out of breath. He's like trying to like talk to himself. He's like, "Giant spider."
Like, it's just for the audience.
Yeah.
Like, why? He doesn't need to repeat this to himself.
No.
Like,
and you're immediately like, oh, where's the spider? And then you see it on the disc, and you're like, oh, that spider. Okay, cool.
So after the opening credits, first scene is Will Smith, his character Jim West, and a woman who I don't think we got they might have said her name. I don't care enough. And they're just like having some sexy time in a water tower.
Which, LOL, how sanitary is that?
For the people drinking the water. Like,
that's very inconsiderate of you, Mr. Jim West. I think
it's insinuated that they're going to.
Correct. Yes.
In the water that people are going to be drinking.
Correct.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
I know. Kind of brings you Hotel Cecil vibes.
You know, I was thinking that.
That's really fucked
up. But it's dark.
But it's true.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll take that part out.
The tower falls. Will Smith falls. I don't know what happens to the chick. Where does she go?
Oh, so she's inside of the tower still, because at one point he goes, "Close, darling," or whatever, and then she chunks the clothes at him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, in my notes, one of the first things I have written is that was a penis. Because it's so quick, but I was so sure that whenever Will Smith is falling, you can see his penis. So I rewound and tried to slow down, but the Apple TV just doesn't really go for that. But it's there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was funny because on IMDb, it definitely used the word scrotum. Like, you can see part of his scrotum.
Yeah, because when he stands up, you totally can.
It's testicles and scrotum.
Yeah,
is what it's
but,
Mm-hmm.
I looked at
I couldn't slow mine down enough to see it either. Like, you can definitely see his shadow when he's standing up, but I didn't see it as he was falling in.
I mean...
My eyes are...
Then he's engaged in this shootout, and he just, has a jacket on, and...
Meanwhile, he is, like, Captain Sexy Pants, because all he has is that vest on, and he's just fighting all of these... Well, okay, he has pants on too, guys. Pants, yeah. But his chest is exposed, and he's, enthralled in this really ridiculous fight scene. I feel that this movie did absolutely put a lot more money into their, like, special effects and fighting scenes versus actually giving a flying fuck about where the script was going.
So we're then in a brothel?
Yeah, I guess you could call it that. I mean, there's definitely, like women of the night in there.
So that is when we are introduced to Gordon, who's played by Kevin Kline. He is in full drag, but like Wild West era drag.
Yeah.
And he picks out a man who we saw at the very beginning, when the man was decapitated. He has a like megaphone looking thing on his ear. It's supposed to be some sort of like steampunk hearing aid, I guess.
Because that also releases gunk, which we'll get into in a little bit.
It does release some nasty, thick, viscous.
Good word.
Thanks. Goop. Yeah, it's gross.
After the little brothel scene, they go up to the room, and you're kind of getting the sense that Gordon, as character, is some kind of maybe spy or somebody sent in to look for something, because he's very attentive to like what is going on within the brothel. He walks past the room that McGrath is going into and sees somebody being held captive. And he looks like he's showing a great interest in that. McGrath takes him. They go back to the room. And that's when Gordon reveals these very strange, hypnotic...
Breastplates. Something like that.
That sounds great.
They just open, and there's your, your stereotypical hypnotic swirlies, black and white. And so Gordon's wanting to get information out of McGrath while under hypnosis. Mentions that he's a good dog or something along those lines. And McGrath proceeds to bark and drool and like pant, and it's a really weird scene. It is
a very strange scene.
Like, I didn't laugh.
No, it was very uncomfortable to watch that encounter, because I definitely see what they were trying to do, but it was very odd. It was very odd. And, the plates stop working, and I think McGrath is still under somewhat kind of trance. Yeah. But he starts to get upset, maybe is a good word to use. And he starts like snarling and growling, and that was super strange. And then he attempts to...
He reaches for a gun.
Yes.
Yeah.
In an attempt to potentially hurt Gordon. Which is when our protagonist comes in.
So Will Smith swoops in through the window, breaks the glass, and proceeds to save Gordon.
Only to find out that he is a U.S. Marshal.
Yes, indeed. So.
And what was Will Smith's character? What form of the government was he working for?
Oh my God, I don't know.
He
was, I think I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Really
Either way, they're both working for the government, and they didn't know about one another.
Right.
And so that scene is kind of, them identifying one another as two people who are obviously undercover.
Is Will Smith undercover?
Jim West is not undercover. He just walks in as himself everywhere he goes.
Indeed. Yeah. He has one outfit.
Yes. So, whatever. There's fighting in the brothel. There's just absolute chaos. Things are going on. And that's when they start, or at that moment is when they introduce the main villain.
Dr. Loveless? It's Doctor, right? I don't know
I'm just laughing at the fact that his,
they all have stupid names.
Dr. Loveless.
Yeah. So he has a translator or a lip reader.
I wrote that down.
Yeah.
U.S. Marshal, U.S. Army. Oh, that's what it was.
So her name is
Mortician? What? No, it's
no. It's like Lippen reader or something stupid. It's so on the nose, and I'm like, oh, God, who wrote this? She's relaying all this back to Loveless, and to my surprise, next to Loveless is Bai Ling, who I know from Lost. She is in an episode where Jack famously gets his tattoo. Probably the worst episode of Lost. And she plays a prostitute. And she is just a bad actress. It doesn't change in this. She's very much like an over actor, and what I remember from Lost that does translate the same to this is that when she makes out with somebody, it's just like all tongue. And it's so uncomfortable to watch. And I mean, I even put her name is Mealy East. So another great choice of last name.
East meets West.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what they were going for. And next to her name in my notes, I just put tongue. Because that's all there is there.
Yep.
So everyone is really horny in this movie.
Oh, yeah. You have to think about the time period, too.
Do you?
No, I mean, when you think about how women were treated then as to opposed to now, right? Maybe not.
Objectified.
Just back that part up. And that will be
made to feel less than.
It is just a generally awkward, like, even the casting for the girls that are around him, because he does have 3 ladies with him that are constantly in revealing clothing, that do really odd tasks for him, that are like his bodyguards, that also double just as like little tasks and things.
Yeah, I was wondering if he was paying for them, like if they were prostitutes. Which I'm 100% sure Bai Ling is, because that's all she plays. But the other ones, I don't know, like the Lippen reader, Lippenstein, I don't know. That woman obviously has a job and a purpose. Mm-hmm. So more than a prostitute, at least. She can lip read.
Yeah. U.S. Marshal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That, after watching that movie, unfortunately, like that little scene gets stuck in my head. Because of how nails on a chalkboard it is.
Yeah.
I hate the way she lip reads throughout the movie.
Could you do a better job?
Probably not.
Okay.
You go, girl. So, again, chaos in the brothel. You get introduced to the villain. He has his 3 besties next to him. And they identify that obviously there is some form of government worker in there. Is that the right word to use? Anyways, he identifies as there's a U.S. Marshal and a U.S. Army. He tries to blow up Gordon and West. They somehow survive. That scene ends, and then it cuts to Washington, D.C., and you see, like, the U.S. Capitol being constructed. And my favorite part about that was, A, the gravel, because that was hysterical, and seeing all the carriages. I do love that era. But Will Smith absolutely parked his horse in front of the White House and then just proceeded to walk in.
Armed. Yeah.
Things have changed.
People can do that. No, they haven't.
Have they changed?
I think people are still doing that.
I do appreciate that there is a scene where Will Smith's character literally parks his horse in front of the White House and then goes inside. He speaks to the president. That's when Gordon and West team up. And my second favorite part of that is that he gives them a whole ass train for them to use at their disposal. I just love that, the invention of cars and things obviously wasn't a thing then, and taking a carriage wouldn't be feasible. So he gives them the most decked out train with all of these really weird features to it.
A train that Gordon seems to have been on before?
Yeah, he knows.
Because he knows the ins and outs of all these, like, the pool table flipping over.
Yes.
And, like, ejector seats, or I don't know if there were ejector seats. A piece of tech that I thought was really cool that I had seen also in other TV shows, one other TV show, is like the retinal scan of the last memory. They actually did something like that in Fringe. And it was
also a good show.
Very. And it was done pretty much the same way, except I don't think it was in Fringe they had to invert the image, I think. Like it was flipped. Whereas this was upside down. And also apparently before the guy died, his glasses came off. So the image was blurry. And they had...
No, he had his glasses on. They just had to use the glasses to be able to see the image. That's what it was.
Yeah, that's how the brain works.
That's how the ocular lens works. I really want to know the science behind how they got that done, but we'll leave that alone.
Yeah, I don't think there is any.
No. It was a very sad attempt, though, to make that scene funny. It kind of is because it's Will Smith. But on the other hand, watching it, a third or fourth time, because I have definitely seen this movie way more than once. It wasn't funny. It was just really like, it's like, that is a man's head. And just the way he emphasizes certain words is...
He was doing that 90s Will Smith thing that that was his like brand of comedy at the time. Like how Jim Carrey has his over-the-top shtick that he does. Will Smith kind of had that whole like I'm just moving my head right now.
I see what you're going for.
Yeah.
He put little emphases on things, and that was his way of knowing that it was him. That was his form of comedy.
Yeah, because we didn't know that was him.
Right, because his character is Jim West. So you
so I
totally
didn't know
forget
it was
that
Will
he's Will
Smith.
Smith. Correct. So you're like, wow, Jim West knows about Will Smith? It's crazy.
That would have been a better movie.
Yeah, mind-blowing.
Yeah.
They did create one like that where Will
Gemini
Smith...
Man. Yeah.
So ridiculous. So I know, like, later in the movie, you get introduced to Selma Hayek, and that's kind of where the storyline starts to develop a little bit more, where you think that there might be a love interest between the three of them, but you can't really tell who she's going for.
But that's also because it's not well done.
Yeah.
Like, they set it up for a scene and then she's just gone for a long time.
Right.
Selma Hayek was wasted on this role. She is a very good actress.
Yeah.
This is not her role.
No.
I don't know what dialect they told her to go with. I don't think this is what they were expecting. But it's just so cringeworthy. She was probably one of the more cringeworthy parts of the movie to me. And I have no problem with Selma Hayek.
No.
Like,
what I found pretty funny is that she did win Favorite Supporting Actress from the Blockbuster Entertainment Awards. I don't know what movie they saw.
Or were there any other people in the category with her? Because maybe if she was the only one...
I see what you did there. I was like, pants? I don't know.
Or it was just her or Bai Ling.
Yeah, that would make sense.
I'm sure that was it.
Yes.
Or the girl at the beginning with the floaty boobies.
The floaty boobies.
It was between them.
Oh my god! We didn't even talk about the only part of the movie that I thought was actually pretty funny. There's two, but this was one of them. Is whenever Gordon's character is in drag and they're on the train and the train conductor's walking through, like, I guess what you would call the main lobby. I don't know, the main compartment, and they're in a wardrobe area, and Gordon is showing Jim West his, drag attire for a party that they're going to be attending. And he puts on this boob.
It's like a fake breast set.
Yes. And
a filled-in bra.
He's basically just trying to get Jim West's character to, like, appreciate it. And he shuts him down, right? And says that his breasts are too firm. And then it's revealed that it's buckwheat. He dumps it out, fills it with water, holds it against his chest, and is like, "Now touch my breast." And they have this very odd exchange amongst one another where they're just like, "Oh." And then Gordon legit says, "Oh my god, I'm hard." Talking about him feeling his own breast, but the train conductor is listening. And he's like, "I always knew there was something funny about those guys." When?
Always in the last 10 minutes we've known them.
It was they tried so hard to make that scene funny, and I think that my love for Will Smith allowed me to chuckle. But it was
boner
still
jokes
pretty
are hard
awkward.
to mess up.
That's true.
Like, you see like a middle-aged older white guy say I'm hard. It's gonna be like, oh,
it's gonna
it's
hit.
Funny. That's a strong. Yeah.
He nailed it. Anyways, I really enjoyed that because I just thought it was absolutely ridiculous, and I did not remember that scene in particular.
I think some of the very few parts that at least made me smile were we haven't even really gotten into Loveless at all. But he's introduced, and him and Jim West immediately have this back and forth
banter.
Banter about so Jim West makes fun of the fact that Loveless is in a wheelchair, saying things like something about a woman knocking the legs out from under him, or I don't even remember the rest.
A man of his stature.
Like
he
tall
just keeps
jokes.
making tall jokes and
Yeah. And then Loveless, in exchange, is making fun of Will Smith being black. I don't even remember a lot of.
No.
I just remember being like.
I think that, and I mean, my notes will kind of prove it to you. I took notes, but there wasn't a lot to be able to comment on because it was just so poorly done. And that scene was funny because it was the first time that I think that the movie allowed itself to kind of let loose and like push some buttons. Not to mention, Jim West in the movie is a man who thinks very highly of himself. He is confident in what he does, and so that little exchange between the two of them was just basically both of them pulling their rulers out.
Will Smith won.
Oh, yeah.
We saw it in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, plus he has legs. I cannot go in there, please. So, the movie kicks off, and there's this whole drama because Loveless is going after the president, and they're trying to catch him, and they meet obstacles. I mean,
there's ridiculous obstacles.
It is.
Like, the whole movie, by the end of it, I wrote this down. There was no reason for this to be a Western.
No.
This could have literally been copy-pasted into any era and been pretty much the same movie.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it being a Western might have hurt it. I don't know what would have been better, but I generally, just as my preference, don't like Westerns. Like, like spaghetti westerns, like actual westerns, not like this. Like I love Blazing Saddles, but that's not a western to me. But I think it was just an excuse for them all to dress up like cowboys. And somebody wanting to like flex and make like a huge spider that is revealed at the end, and I assume was in the trailers.
It was.
Yeah. So
they show it kind of at the end.
Yeah, it could have been anything.
Absolutely.
And it probably would have still sucked.
It probably still would have tanked. Yeah. I think that the only part that I liked about it being a Western is just those, like, some of those scenes where Jim West is, riding on his stallion and being a badass that way. It's not super modern where they have, guns and tanks and stuff. Well, they do have a tank in this movie.
And they have guns.
Okay, you're right. So to me, being a Western just dumbed it down a little bit so that you didn't have all of the crazy technology. You still had like some tech, right?
Yeah. It kind of reminded me of like either like a Mission Impossible or Kingsman, where they just have like all these random gadgets.
Yeah.
But taking that and putting it the Wild West.
Right.
So.
Although some of Gordon's inventions were pretty fun.
I mean, they're all fun, but none of them are practical.
Yeah.
I mean, it literally when they were thinking of like the pool table, like flipping around, what was that going to be used for?
I don't know.
Except in this situation.
Right. On that train. But then why does the president's train have all these things as well? I guess it was just a fail-safe in case somebody hopped on board that wasn't allowed to be on there. Does that mean
Air Force One has all this shit? Did Trump have access to all this shit?
Uncle Joe, if you listen to this podcast, if you would just tell me and Pants what is on Air Force One, we won't tell anybody.
We love you. There is a part later in the movie where Gordon and Jim are in the neck contraptions.
Oh, yeah.
That was pretty, I mean, it was okay. Like, it was one of the lighter parts of the movie, I think. Because they figure out that they're magnets, and then they just kind of get stuck to each other, and for whatever reason, Will Smith's neck magnet gets stuck to Gordon's belt buckle. And so, his head's down in his crotch. And I don't know how a belt buckle is putting off that much force.
It didn't make any sense of why it didn't happen before, or why it wouldn't just go back up to the collar.
Yeah, no, again.
Yeah,
it
there were a lot of
doesn't make
holes.
sense.
It's fine.
Yeah.
They were just like, here, enjoy this.
Yeah. So do you want to go into like the climax finale of it all?
I wouldn't call it a climax because it was extremely unsatisfying.
Okay.
So at this point in time, towards the end of the movie, they have already captured the president. And so they're trying to get to him, right? So they're riding this giant tarantula through the desert, and Gordon invents a flying contraption of some kind.
Which, do you remember what he named it? He called it the Air Gordon.
That's right! Oh. Face palm. All right. And then they're able to climb aboard. Gordon only makes it. West is shot out of the tarantula, falls, tarantula leaves, and later you find out that West was wearing Gordon's prototype, like, bulletproof vest. Somehow he catches up to the tarantula, which, hole, right?
I mean, it doesn't look like it moves super fast, but I mean, I guess it covers a lot of ground.
Yeah. How long was he passed out for? Even if he had been passed out for 10 minutes, it's a giant tarantula. I think that you would have to be running very quickly to catch up to it. Do you remember how he got?
Well, I think he took his boots off and put his Air Gordons on.
I hate you. I know at some point in... Okay.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't matter. At some point in time, Will Smith and Gordon are both on this tarantula. Loveless puts, Jim West down into a lower compartment of the tarantula. He fights off all these guys. He fights off this completely metal man, which makes no sense.
Where did he come from?
I have no idea.
And also, what happened to him? Like, he just started buzzing.
Yeah, I don't know what he hit, but he tried to hit Jim West's character with something that you can't see. It's off screen. Obviously, it is attached to something that's causing some form of electrocution, and he just falls out of the tarantula.
Yeah, because, I watched it twice, and both times, the second time, admittedly, wasn't paying as much attention, because I get it. But I watched that part both times, and I don't know what happened to him.
No.
Like, they're just fighting, he's about to kill Will Smith.
Right.
And then he just, shuts off.
To me, I think that those were the last scenes that were filmed from that movie, and the director was like, yeah, fuck it.
We have this Metal Man costume. Use it.
Uh-huh.
But we don't have the budget for a fight. So
right.
Fall.
Yeah.
Off the spider.
Correct. And that's what he did. So,
yeah.
Job well done.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Except I'll never get that time back. And then there's a fight scene between Jim West and Loveless, which admittedly was also really weird.
Yeah.
Because he from his chair, he gets these legs that are very similar to the spider. And he starts kind of going around and trying to stomp on...
Which supposedly has been there all along.
Yeah, why didn't he ever bust it out before?
There seems like a lot of situations where that would be helpful.
Absolutely. And he waited until the very last moment. Maybe that was his secret weapon. Although you would think the big tarantula.
The big spider was.
Okay, so they have this really weird fight scene. Gordon has been stripped of all of his weapons.
Gadgets.
Right?
Yeah.
All of his gadgets. And somehow Jim West is able to give him the small gun that he had. It's mentioned in the movie earlier. Didn't really matter. Wasn't relevant until now. And Gordon shoots Loveless. Loveless laughs at him missing. Gordon actually hit some part of the legs that is suddenly spewing all of this liquid, which again makes absolutely no sense.
It looked like the ear goop.
It did. It was like oil. But do you think that has to do with the steampunk idea?
Most likely.
Yeah.
That's fueling everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Loveless's contraption deteriorates or just crumples down. He struggles to get back to his chair, and Jim West is giving some kind of victory speech while Loveless, is trying to get out of this sticky situation.
Oh.
He climbs into his chair and then tries to shoot Jim West.
Mm-hmm. And they end up hanging over the edge of the spider, right?
Yes.
Jim West is hanging by Loveless's neck.
I think that right before he's going to shoot him, they're trying to get the spider to not go over the hill, and that's how they get jerked through the door. He didn't even make it to shoot him; they just suddenly went forward, which also didn't make any sense because he was pretty secure in that area. He had locked himself in, and then for him to just whoop.
It's just sad that this is all news to me, and I've seen it twice. You could have just made that whole scene up. But I believe you.
So they're hanging off of this cliff. Since I seem to be the only person to watch this movie. They're hanging off of this cliff. Loveless tells Jim West's character that he could, kill them both because he really doesn't like Jim West, but he's contemplating it. And it's just basically stretching this scene out much more than it needs to be.
And there's some more wheelchair black banter between the two.
Correct.
Yes. Always.
Because, again,
that's all they have. That's the only chemistry they have.
Yes. That's right. Jim West does it for Loveless and releases his chair. And the funny part is somehow that metal man was hung in the process of him falling from the tarantula. And that is what Jim West is inevitably holding in the end off of this cliff. He grabs onto the metal guy. But I never even saw anything that would imply that he would have been that he would have hung himself falling out of the spider.
Yeah, there was no like cables.
No.
Were they near the cliff at that point? How did he get there?
I don't even know. So you know, just like Brian and I were saying, it's a great movie.
So in the end, they defeat Loveless, right? And they're both appointed as special agents. Mm-hmm. Is that right? And there is heavy implication that they're trying so hard to set up a sequel. Mm-hmm. Because they're just like, well, what are we gonna do now? Mm-hmm. You know, they both have these new positions or whatever, and then, you know, the president takes off in his train. Jim West and Gordon ride into the sunset on the giant spider. Mm-hmm. And then Wild Wild West starts playing. And I'm like, oh, I love this song. This is the best part of the movie.
I don't know. I do want to mention, too, that this whole time, the two of them think that Selma Hayek's character loves that or like has some kind of romantic interest in her. And she leads them to believe that she does like them and that they're rescuing her father. That's what it was. That's why she keeps tagging along. Because like, we haven't mentioned it, but she's literally there the entire time.
But not.
Yeah, it is weird. She's like
just
there
kind
and then
of
she's
in
not.
and out.
And then she's, mm-hmm.
She starts by saying that she's like being held captive by Loveless, mm-hmm. and then that they need to rescue her father. Mm-hmm. Then at the very end, she's like,
"By the way, this is my husband.
It's my husband, not my father, or my captor,
or my captor." It was just a very strange movie overall. I mean, you can tell that her character, you know, is just doing whatever means necessary to get to her father, who's actually her husband.
She's there to be a set of boobs for the movie. Yeah. Like, even on the cover, like, she's on the cover with him and Gordon, and it's just like her face and boobs. Like, and she has no substantial part in this movie.
Selma Hayek, we love you. That was a really poor role for them to give you. I hope you had fun doing it. I do. Yeah. But they really did use you as boobies, and that's not cool.
But I mean, she's made very good movies since then.
Oh yeah.
That was 20-something years ago. Yeah. So, you know.
I do want to let you guys know that the Stinkers Bad Movie Awards did give it 2 awards. One was for Worst Picture, and the other was Most Painfully Unfunny Comedy. Pants, what do you think about that?
I mean, I'm surprised it only got 2.
Well, the Razzie Award did give it quite a few more.
Good.
It won Worst Picture.
Deservedly.
Worst Screen Couple. Worst Director.
Which couple was being rated?
I didn't look. I would imagine it would be Gordon and Will Smith.
I agree.
Worst Director. Mm-hmm. Worst Screenplay. And Worst Original Song. Which the last one I don't agree with. No. Because as much as this movie, circled the drain, the song is awesome.
That was the one good thing about it. So I don't agree with that. But do you have anything else?
Like we said in the beginning, we just like to watch movies just to watch them. We have a real big passion, for seeing what people can produce on the big screen. Pants, got into screenwriting for a little bit. I, as a consumer, am just really critical. Just superficially, anyway.
We're not their audience for this.
No. But, it was fun. It was cool to watch it again and bounce ideas and stuff with Pants. And I really do look forward to, keeping this up.
Yep. I'll say that I'm glad I can just. I guess I'm glad I can say that I've seen it. I mean, I know that it's just a big topic at the water cooler right now.
Oh, yeah.
Is Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I can finally partake in those conversations.
I really hope that whoever listens to this podcast also chooses to watch the movie again, so that way we can just funnel some more money into their accounts, because they deserve it. They put up with... What a script.
It depends on who the money's going to.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. We don't need them making more scripts.
No sequels,
let's fund Willow's college. All right. So at the end of every show, we're going to take our alphabet die and roll it for the letter for next week's movie. Mm-hmm. So I rolled this week for W, and it's Tina's turn to roll.
And L.
All right. So Tina will be picking a movie for us to watch next week that one of us has not seen, or both, starting with L. And we will be back here to talk about it.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for listening. If you guys like what you heard, feel free to subscribe. We'll be back next week.
Yep. And we're on Apple Podcasts and Google Play. You can also leave a comment so other people can discover the show, and be sure to tell your friends, anyone who just might be interested in listening to our bullshit.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're also on Twitter at WTF Did I Watch Pod, so you can follow us there. If you have any suggestions or comments, you can drop them there, and we'll be keeping an eye out for it.
Yep, sounds good.
All right, we will see you guys next week.
Have a good one. Bye.